Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show, everyone. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Tons of different stories. There's even a rather long one that, I don't know if we're going to do because it's actually a very interesting article about back in 2016. If you recall, there was a cyber attack on the banks of India. And the criminals had gotten away with $81 million, but of course they almost got away with over $1 billion. There's a fascinating article talking about how that happened, where it went, who did it, and why they didn't get away with more. Because, they were close to getting the whole thing. It's really incredible. So, among other stories, we of course are going to talk about the effects of Texas and their very proud nature and how they're, they have their own privatized power grid, and the possibility that the, ERCOT may turn your thermostats up. Now, obviously, because of the heat wave that is affecting most of the country, most people have been advised, and if you're doing a good job, most people have been advised to set their thermostats to 78 degrees, and they're allowed to turn up another 4 degrees whenever they see fit. So some people are sitting there, or at least most people should be sitting there with about, 82 degree thermostats, which is not comfortable, obviously. So we have that story. We have more, including this one about iPhone Wi-Fi glitches and bugs. There's another one about Bitcoin in China, if you were wondering what the current state of that was and why cryptocurrency is falling so precipitously. And that's because China is once again ramping up its efforts to control cryptocurrency. So everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Before we get started, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, show notes, podcasts, articles, social media links, and reviews, and more. We should have some new articles being posted up here this week. That's of course assuming that I get around to writing them. But we have a couple products that have been sitting around for a bit. I'm actually staring at one, and I really want to get it off my desk. So that should be up here in just a couple of days. And as always, computeramerica.com is the best place to find out anything that we do. Hey, there you go. Now, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started with computer and technology news, once again brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. Okay, we have a couple of fun ones here. I think today's show is going to be really good. It's going to feel like it's going to go by really quickly. Let's start out something a little bit later. And while I don't normally pull stories from TechCrunch, I think they're a great publication, but they're more on the financials side of it. They're always talking about Series A funding, Series F funding. How does a company plan to raise money? How's a startup doing? They talk about IPOs, a lot about the financials of technology. Well, this story though really caught my attention because there's a whole subculture that I'm not the most familiar with, and anyone out there who may be, good for them. But sneakers, shoes that you wear on your feet. I get it. It's a form of fashion. It's very accessible. Some of the sneakers are very iconic. It's almost like art that is meant to be worn, and some people get really into sneakers. It's not judging anyone, but this story kind of blends a little bit of the technology side in the fact that, it's going a little bit beyond just, collectors, operating amongst themselves and, going to forums and social media to trade sneakers and, that whole thing, because, it's not just that these sneakers are, it's not just that these sneakers are being worn and that's it. No, they're being collected and traded just like any other collectible out there. Enter this website called SoleSavy. Sole as in the bottom of a shoe, and savvy as in, money. And so SoleSavy raises $12.5 million Series A to build an end-to-end sneakersphere. And when I saw the word sneakersphere, I thought, yep, that's got to be mentioned. So obviously collectibles boomed during the pandemic, and obviously NFT outfits like NBA Top Shots exploded as consumers flirted with newer efforts. The sneaker world grew even more mature and enthusiastic, digging deeper into communities dedicated to hobby, passion, obsession, alternative asset class. Yeah, people have sunk, hundreds of thousands of dollars into their sneaker collection. Now, Vancouver SoleSavy, a sneaker community dedicated to giving fans a curated place to navigate the world of shoes with all of its drops, news, and rumors, has raised $12.5 million in a Series A just months after wrapping up a $2 million seed round. So essentially, they got $2 million to kind of flesh things out, and now they are able to work with another $12 million to make sure that this website, takes it to the next step. Yes, I said it. The CEO says that the company has tripled its user base since its seed raised late last year, and of course the team has grown to about 40 employees, which still means that the company has so much more it can grow. Now today, the community is based largely around a network of Slack groups where users can discuss just about everything. Through the platform's chat communities that are organized through Slack now, they see a future where the company could build its own chat hub for users, something to further tie in, a lot of shoe puns to be made here, tie into the startup's app, website, and online conversations. The more near-term goal is to grow the community into a hub of trusted buyers and sellers where a peer-to-peer member marketplace can thrive. Obviously, again, just like any other collectibles, think about Pokemon cards not too long ago. Being able to trade them amongst themselves is going to be the biggest part of it, because I think right now that marketplace is probably just like eBay, and this company seems to want to take on that business. So there you go. Let's see. So reading further into the article, let's see. So the companies, they raise plenty of money. The seed showcase. They have plenty of investors that are intrigued by the idea of these marketplaces that are built around social communities. And again, in this case, they are people who are super into sneakers. So obviously they're super focused on North America, and they also see a number of investors that are quite interested in Australia and New Zealand, United Kingdom, Singapore, Japan, and broader Europe. Doesn't take much. It's, again, one of those sub-communities that I'm definitely never going to be a part of, but definitely intrigued that you could be so into sneakers and you're not alone. Sneaker enthusiasts are out there everywhere. So there you go. Story number one, and has to do with a sneaker sphere. Let's see if that goes anywhere. So that was story number one. Story number two. Again, plenty to pick from here. How about a little bit of an update from Cyberpunk, everyone's favorite game? And if you weren't following the trials and tribulations of Cyberpunk 2077, it launched after 10 plus years in the making, and it was super hyped. I mean, the first time we saw this thing was back in 2011. We saw a sneak peek, and then of course the development had been paused and halted and ever worked on, and it finally came to fruition just for the game to be delisted on PlayStation, Sony, and Steam, and a number of other networks, because it was almost unplayable. Performance issues plagued it immensely, and of course there were game crashing bugs. I think PlayStation even offered refunds for the game if it actually got that bad. Now, finally, about 6-7 months after it was first launched, it's back on the PlayStation Network and PlayStation consoles, though it comes with a warning that I've never heard any other game having to display. They said that the PlayStation 4 is not recommended, or at least the base PlayStation 4, because I know there's like the PlayStation 4 Slim with some better hardware, and there's like PlayStation 4 Plus, but at least the base PlayStation 4 doesn't quite meet that 30 frames per second goal that they set out to hit. It's a very graphic intensive game, and obviously for consoles that's going to be very difficult, or at least, for consoles that are at this point 6, 7, 8 years old. So at the time, neither Sony nor CD Projekt Red offered a roadmap for exactly when the game might go back on sale on Sony's digital shop, even though the developer made it clear that it would continue patching the game on all platforms. Last week, they confirmed in a regulatory statement that the game would have returned to PSN this week, and that came to pass on Monday. So today, it's back on It's back on PlayStation Network. In conjunction with the game's digital purchase price, dropped $10 to $50. So obviously, $10 discount. It's still many games out there are still selling for $60 well after their release date. For it to drop $10, I guess they're trying to woo some people back who got refunds, and hey, at least you get to save a little bit if you decide to jump back into it. But CP77 returns with something new. The product page includes a warning at the very top of the game info saying that the PlayStation 4 system is not recommended. For best Cyberpunk experience, play on PlayStation 4 Pro and the PlayStation 5 system. So there you go. The latest patch includes version 1.23, appears to have far more stable performance on the base PlayStation 4 than at launch, with some of the busiest scenes sticking close to the 30 frames per second refresh. Still, that comes at a cost. At the reduction across the board, pixel resolution, level of detail, texture fidelity, number of objects on screen, and other rendering drawbacks. Essentially, they are stripping the cutscenes, they're stripping the gameplay down to its most basic assets that you need to actually play. And CD Projekt Red promised a fully immersive, beautiful world. You can see how those things can kind of be at odds, where the game's just not going to look as good as first promised. That game had so much hype, so much fanfare. It took so long to get it into people's hands, and for it to kind of flop like that, it had all the possibilities in the world to, and just one moment. Sorry about that. So, let's see, and assuming that's working, just want to make sure one thing here real quick. We're good. So, sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so Cyberpunk 2077 had so much that it could have been, but instead it flopped, and it was, really, really not good. So, that's story number 2. Story number 3, let's get into a conversation, and that conversation is going to be about Texas. I know, we don't often talk about Texas, but hey, not every day that Texas starts flipping people's thermostats. And, I was just talking about this before the show with someone who actually lives in Texas, and in very much in keeping with the Texas, with the Texas ideals that, that's my property, and I will not let anyone tell me what to do, which, again, for the Lone Star State, go for it. But this has more to do with contractual obligations that people really just did not read. And Texas is one of several states suffering through the record-breaking heat wave that's pushing electrical grids to their limits. So the Electrical Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, has urged residents to do their part by raising temperatures on their thermostats. But several smart thermostat owners say that their devices have been controlled remotely to conserve energy, leaving them in sweltering homes without a clue as to why. Now, let's make it very clear. ERCOT has a lot of negative emotion around it because they were kind of sort of really responsible for that freeze, during that freeze that happened in Texas earlier this year, and they shut, power went down when people needed the most. They needed their heaters to work, and instead people died during that freeze. So ERCOT was already on everyone's radar. They're already the bad guy, and now during this heat wave, they're looking at people who are having to sit in their homes in 80+ degree weather. Really, really tough out there. It really has been a crazy weather event for Texas this year. Well, turns out that some of them just didn't read the fine print. Several residents of the Houston area said that they'd unknowingly enrolled in a program called Smart Savers Texas as part of a promotion, according to a report from local ABC affiliate WFAA. The agreement states that in exchange for an entry into sweepstakes, so in my head, because this is how I had seen other programs like this, you enter into like reporting, and they can kind of cut off your electricity when they need to, for so many things that the power grid can actually do for your home. In response, they were entered into sweepstakes. So I thought it was kind of like a promotional rate, $5 off your electric bill or whatever. Turns out this was for sweepstakes, even less chance of winning. Well, electrical consumers grant permission for programs operators, Energy Hub, to control their thermostats during periods of high energy demand. And now what constitutes high energy demand? You're looking at, of course, freezing temperatures and heat waves. And of course, Texas has been suffering with a major heat wave. Brandon English, one of the residents that the news station spoke with, said he arrived home from work on Wednesday to find the temperature on his smart thermostat had been turned up while his wife and newborn daughter napped. Now, to be clear, the temperature set by the thermostats, I would not say are dangerous by any means. Obviously, again, if they were living by the recommended rules, set your thermostats to 78 degrees and be mildly uncomfortable, then the most that they would increase it to by 4 would be 82 degrees. Uncomfortable, yes, but it's not like they, locked this man's wife and baby in a car and rolled the windows up. It's not that deadly, but it's still very uncomfortable and a little unsettling, I guess, for people who did not realize that the energy company, that they had given the energy company permission to do that. I think that may be the bigger part of this conversation. Now, they said that it's partnered with several thermostat companies, including Google and Amazon. Google, of course, makes the smart their own hub smart thermostat, and then Amazon, of course, owns things like Ring, who has their own smart thermostat, and Nest as well. Now, they mentioned that during energy-saving events, the program increases the temperature on participant thermostats by up to 4 degrees to reduce consumption and relieve stress on the grid. Now, with that being said, she added that customers will typically receive an offer to join the program from their energy provider or the manufacturer of their thermostat and can opt out at any time. So if you're listening to this and going, yep, that's me, I signed up for this and I don't like it, you can actually opt out of it at any time. So that means right now. On average, these energy-saving events occur between 2 to 8 times each summer. And in a statement to Houston-based NBC affiliate, Centerpoint Energy said it conducted a test curtailment event on June 16th, so just last week, from 2 to 5 p.m. and notified Energy Hub to reduce energy consumption for their residents that agreed to participate in this, whole thing. once it received the notification, they adjusted the thermostats for participating customers. Once again, and they have like a full press release here that they did here, but once again, it was more to the fact that they did not know they were giving up control, or at least not even really giving up control. I'm not sure what would happen if they decided to turn the thermostat back down, but I think automatically, and anyone who wasn't paying attention and didn't really realize it, their thermostats were turned up by 4 degrees. At least it's not like people were, have their thermostats set to, 80 and they turned it up to like 90 and, the heat kicked on and people were in trouble. It's not that bad. 4 degrees is definitely uncomfortable. And if for any kind of medical reason, people need it cooler. This man was complaining that his baby was starting to show the signs of kind of heat exhaustion. They can sign out of it, unenroll from it, turn it back down, and make everyone comfortable once again. The bigger problem here, again, was just not knowing what it is they were signing up for. And my kind of response to this whole thing, was that if it's not really a matter of will this happen again? I mean, this is what the energy grid of the future is going to look like. It's not going to include just a handful of people who may feel, not attacked, but kind of taken advantage of by people who don't have to sacrifice their comfort. But in the next 10 to 20 years, I can almost guarantee you, every thermostat is going to be a smart thermostat that is sold and installed in the US. And there are going to be regulatory bodies that are going to have a say in what those thermostats are set to. For energy grid durability, which has been talked about often, either through increasingly erratic weather events or a terror attack or anything else that can really happen can happen to an energy grid that can cause it to be destabilized, having the ability to kind of immediately relieve pressure. Energy consumption is like 110% of grid, so turn everything down by 10%, you're good to go. Having a resilient energy grid, this is what it's going to look like, where these third parties can turn people's thermostats up. They can turn certain parts of the grid off. They can, there's going to be that trade-off where if you want power more consistently, and of course you want power more efficiently, you're going to have to connect to a central, kind of regulator for what that grid can do. Is that a good thing? I honestly do think it is. Right now we're taking, and I keep saying taking advantage of, only a few people are being affected by this because only a few people have enrolled in this and gotten those smart thermostats. When everyone has them and everyone is a part of it, that effect will be a lot more. Yeah, that effect will be felt a lot less by a lot more people being part of that program. So right now, it's an issue, and I can see how people can kind of feel ticked off that they did not know what was happening and what they really signed up for. But at the same time, this program is not going anywhere. I'm sure that people are still going to enroll in it, and the majority of people will not actually opt out of it. It will continue to grow, and it will continue to be a part of people's lives. It's hard to be up in arms at this. This is just what people signed up for, and if they don't like it, for the moment at least, they can unenroll themselves from this particular thing. So there you go. Okay, there you go. That was story number 3. Story number 4, and again, everyone being affected by this heat wave, I commiserate. It's, heat is very uncomfortable. I spent many summers in Florida with little to no electricity, after hurricanes. Man, stuffy, humid, just super high heat is so hard to live with. And in fact, in many places, I think that people would consider air conditioning a kind of a necessity. But it's going to go away. The weather's going to get better. Don't worry about it. Okay. So there's that story. Our next story, we can talk a little bit about robots. Probably the second best company out there when it came to robotics was Hyundai. They made the robots for, factories, those robotic arms and things like that. They had their own dancing robot long before anyone else had a dancing robot. Hyundai has always been huge into robotics. But the poster child, the fan favorite when it came to robotics was a firm called Boston Dynamics. You may know them. They had they had their own, I think it was... I want to say Spot, but it's not Spot. Like their dog-like robot. I'm trying to think, what was the actual name of the dog-like robot? Anyways, they had dog-like robot, Boston Dynamics. They had a walking robot, they had a flipping robot, they had a dog-like robot. Tons of different robots that could do things that, no one else had ever really seen robots do, because you think robot and you think large, clunky, repetitive motion, but these showed that they could actually respond to and immediately compensate for a number of different events, including being kicked in the side and, uneven terrain. It was really amazing. Well, as of today, Hyundai Motor Group has announced the acquisition of a controlling stake in the U.S. robotics firm Boston Dynamics. So about $880 million later, Hyundai now owns, again, they don't own the company outright, but they own a controlling stake, so they can vote in any way that they want to, which is essentially owning the company. Hyundai Motor, Hyundai Mobis, Hyundai Glovis, and Hyundai Motor Group chairman will have a 30, 20, 10, and 20% share, respectively, in the company. So they took a bunch of their little subsidiaries of Hyundai and invested that into Boston Dynamics. The deal marks the first acquisition since the new CEO officially took over leadership of the Korean automotive company. The investment will elevate Hyundai and uplift in designing industrial robots for factory use and logistics, because that's where the money really is, military and factory application. So, with that being said, current Japanese investment firm SoftBank values Boston Dynamics at about $1.1 billion, and then, of course, a controlling stake with $880 million. They have a pretty secure grip on the company. Let's see. So the M&A deal follows Hyundai's recent efforts at ramping up different investments to gain the upper hand in the sector. In December, the company announced it would invest 60 trillion won by 2025 for future mobility. So there you go. Robotics have, acquiring Boston Dynamics, there's a lot of good in that, and I think Boston Dynamics, they may not be like the biggest in the sector, and they may not be the most advanced in the sector. Like, I'm sure that there are other R&D groups that are even further beyond what Boston Dynamics does, but Boston Dynamics is very... they have a great PR team, I guess. They're a household name to many households anyways. They're a household name, and they're very upfront. Like, everyone knows about them. They make headlines all the time, and for Hyundai to invest in them makes a lot of sense. They're definitely one of the most prominent players when it comes to research robotics. So makes perfect sense, and best of luck to them. Hopefully a lot more funding and a lot more backing can lead Boston Dynamics to do a lot more cool robots, because at the end of the day, I think that's what we all want. We all want really cool robots. Hopefully that don't work for the military and, kill people. But hey, you take what you can get. Our next story, tons of different ones that we could do. This one might be fun. OnlyFans, something that I don't talk a lot about here on the show, for obvious reason. OnlyFans is pretty well known for its not safe for work content, and we do our best to try to make our content here at Computer America safe for work. But check this out. Looks like OnlyFans might be doing a bit of the same. OnlyFans is reportedly in talks to raise new funding at a valuation above $1 billion as it plots to move away from adult content to become more mainstream. Took me by surprise because I have only ever heard OnlyFans in I guess kind of an adult content context. They are kind of like the de facto place to for individuals to kind of market themselves in that way. And this coming to us from Business Insider, it kind of goes even further. Kate Duffy posting this just a couple of days ago, but still, the article starts out with adult entertainment site OnlyFans is reportedly in talks to raise new funding at a valuation of more than $1 billion. They're an adult entertainment company, so it really makes you scratch your head. Why would they try to move away with what is essentially 100% of their business? But still, the online platform, which charges users a subscription to view pictures and videos of celebrity influencers and adult film stars, was teaming up with an advisor to bolster interest from investors. The source wanted to remain anonymous because the talks are private, and the source also said that the advisor was helping OnlyFans become a more mainstream online media company and that it hoped to move away from its reputation for adult content. I think one website that they need to really take a look at and see if that's even possible or if that's in their best interest would be it's already slipping my mind. It was an online like personal blogging site that was not Tumblr. Was it Tumblr? Tumblr. I think it was Tumblr. They kind of did the exact same thing where a lot of people had their own personal blogs that they could post anything that they wanted to. Very famously, they started to crack down on adult content, actually banning it from the platform and taking down people's Tumblr accounts where they were hosting their pictures and that whole thing. Tumblr had a very robust adult scene, I guess, on the platform. And now that they have moved away from that as best they could, it kind of goes to show that even myself, who follows a lot of these stories and should admittedly know a lot about, the different services that are out there, even I have started to forget what they were. Not just because they stopped serving, adult content, but because by and large, they were rather irrelevant otherwise. They were not, a place to meet and greet new people. I mean, Facebook and Twitter and other social media sites really have that all over them. Even kind of starting your own blog, I think people have taken to other platforms to do that. It's really hard for companies that have their particular niche, and when that niche is not ad friendly, and that's really going to be one of the biggest problems that they kind of face here. Why they're doing this? It would be because obviously OnlyFans has a reputation of being, adult centric and selling naked pictures and naked videos and bolstering those communities. But to attract investors and get outside capital, and of course to get advertising revenue and just more acceptance, you need to move away from that because that really limits who you can advertise to, where you can advertise, and of course the people who do finally make it to your platform, what kind of content are they going to see? All of that means that they need to transition away from it, but they also risk really alienating the one thing that they have going for them, and that is they're the go-to place if you want to sell that kind of content. They mentioned that OnlyFans wants to turn into a platform where celebrities and athletes can connect with fans, according to sources. OnlyFans boomed during the pandemic. The number of users jumped to 120 million from 20 million before the coronavirus struck, and users spent about $2.4 billion on the site in 2020. People joined the websites as a way to earn money after losing jobs in COVID-19, saying, quote, athletes are a creator genre we're seeing a lot of growth in. They mentioned that, and that was from the CEO, Tim Stokely, said in a press release when Floyd Mayweather Jr. joined the site. The subscription website also aims to pull in more advertisers as it goes more mainstream. Clearly, they're chasing the advertising dollars, and they can't get really good advertising dollars unless they get the adult content probably not fully out of their site, but more pushed into a corner and covered up, much like what Reddit does with their adult content. The internet has really, since its really early days, has been about adult content. And advertisers are wary about it. They don't want to, they really don't want like their logo. They don't want someone's naked picture and then their logo right underneath it. It's just not a good look for these companies, and they want to be very careful about how they spend their money, where they spend their money, that whole thing. We've seen so many companies, be it Tumblr, be it Twitch, be it Reddit, so many places that have had a cornerstone in peddling naked photos and things like that start to steer away from that. And it's worked better for some, it's worked worse for others. It's hard to imagine that OnlyFans, with its reputation, is able to do that for themselves. I don't see it happening, but hey, I've been wrong before. So definitely see it, and as of this moment, no plans for Computer America OnlyFans, even if they're looking for different kinds of content. So, sorry everyone, no OnlyFans for us. Okay, how about for our story number 6? How about some content that may be for us? And I have to look into this, just make sure that we're on it, because we probably are, thanks to our partners. But obviously, if you're listening to us live on IRN, we thank you for that. But the second best place is, of course, through the podcast. And who launched a podcast? Well, Facebook launches its Clubhouse clone and podcast streaming. So you can actually listen to podcasts directly through Facebook. And hey, that's good for us. They mentioned that audio rooms are similar to Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces. Conversations stream live in the app, and room hosts can invite others to speak with them. In a sign of just how important the feature is to Facebook, the app will promote the conversation at the top of the newsfeed above stories. The new format also comes with creator-friendly features like the ability to buy stars. So you can cheer with, I guess if you're a native with Twitch, you can like cheer with bits. The in-app gifts that help influencers make money from their streams. Notably, Facebook will rely on automation and user reports to enforce its content rules with the new format. And like Clubhouse, which has at times struggled with moderation, room hosts can control who speaks or report users who break the rules. Clearly, just like our previous conversation with OnlyFans and adult content, I think that Clubhouse is going to, clearly they're saying that Clubhouse had their own problem with nudity and, people being vulgar and harassing people. It looks like Facebook is already gearing up to prepare for, some of these similar things. Now, audio rooms will also feature heavily in Facebook groups where moderators and group admins can enable the audio streaming feature even for members who aren't verified or public figures. Facebook says it's making available to select groups to start, but plans to expand its availability. In addition to rooms, Facebook also is beginning to add podcasts to its platform. And with the update, fans can listen to podcast episodes while they browse Facebook, and starting out with a handful of names, including Joe Budden and and another one, but we'll open up to more podcasts over the next few weeks. Again, we have to see what it would be to get Computer America on there, but hey, we already have a Facebook group, so we should be able to get on there, no problem. Shouldn't be too bad. With the new feature, Facebook is the latest company to try to compete with Clubhouse, which has surged in popularity over the last year. Twitter has also been investing heavily in audio with Spaces, and Spotify just launched its take on the service with Green Room. Clearly, live streaming is making it into the mainstream, and everyone wants to be a part of it. Social media realizes that this is the next evolution in social media, is that it's not just being able to listen to a show like ours, but it's also being able to converse, have that live feedback, have that chat room, that type of interaction seems to be super important for people to have access to. So there you go. Let's see. So I think with that one being said, this next report might make people angry, I guess. I don't know. But it should not really come at a surprise. With Amazon Prime Day, it's happening sometime around here. I don't know. But either way, with it happening, a lot of focus on Amazon, and one particular part of Amazon is getting a lot of attention, and that is just how many items from Amazon are destroyed. Because they run these massive warehouses, they have them all over the country, they have them all over the world, really, and the amount of items that either get returned, if they actually had to deal with the amount of items that they sell every single day, if they actually had to return them back to sellers, if they actually had to deal with them in-house, their shipping costs would be way more expensive. So to get around that, turns out that they actually, delete, they destroy items. And for a company the size of Amazon, you may be wondering how many items they destroy. If I told you 5,000 items a day across the country, there you go. That it'd be low. You might believe 5,000, 10,000, maybe 25,000. That's a lot of items. 50,000, tons of items. Well, the real number is actually 130,000 items every single week. And it really goes to show just the kinds of items that they're actually destroying. And that includes things like MacBooks, COVID-19 masks, which were at one point in short supply, and televisions. Some of them were new and unused in a report. So this happened in the UK, but still, Amazon warehouses, they're a beast all on their own, and people really need to see just how unmanageable it can get. Now, an Amazon warehouse in Scotland destroys millions of unsold products every year, and that's an investigation from the British news outlet ITV. They filmed undercover footage inside Amazon's warehouse in Scotland. The footage showed laptops, TVs, jewelry, headphones, books, and face masks being loaded into crates marked destroy. And we can even mute that tab and play that here if you're watching the video portion. We'll have this kind of going off in the background. You can see it there. Now, for everyone who can't watch, an anonymous former Amazon employee told them that workers at the warehouse were given a weekly target of 130,000 items to destroy. This was corroborated by an internal memo viewed by ITV, which showed that during 1 week in April, 124,000 items were marked destroy. In the same week, 28,000 products were marked donate. So clearly, 5 times as many items are being destroyed as they were donated, saying that there's, quote, there's no rhyme or reason as to what gets destroyed. Dyson fans, Hoovers, the occasional MacBook or iPad. The other day, 20,000 COVID face masks were still in their wrappers. About half of the items marked for destroy were still in their shrink wrap, while the other half were returned items in good condition. An Amazon spokesperson told them that it handles all products products marked for destruction for the entire UK. So clearly, they say that, well, this is just one plant doing 130, but Amazon is saying that for the entirety of the United Kingdom, this one plant handles everything. So that's why the numbers may seem abnormally large. If 130,000 is the weekly average, that would translate to more than 6 million products marked for destruction a year. In 2019, undercover reporters in France found that Amazon destroyed over 3 million products in 1 year. Now, they filmed the boxes of products marked destroy being loaded onto trucks and driven to recycling centers as well as to landfill sites. The Amazon spokesperson said that the landfill site mentioned by ITV was also a recycling center, and saying, quote, "We are working towards a goal of zero product disposal, and our priority is to resell, donate to charitable organizations, or recycle any unsold products. No items are sent to a landfill in the UK. At a last resort, we will send items to energy recovery, but we're working hard to drive the number of times that happens down to zero." So, yep, you can see it right there. Essentially what that means in energy recovery probably has to do with loading them into these crates and essentially burning them for fuel. It's great that they're working towards zero, but it seems like it's gotten kind of out of hand with the amount of products that they destroy. In 2019, they mentioned they sent undercover reporters into different warehouses where they witnessed unsold products being placed into the so-called destruction zone. The mail then tracked the products from that warehouse as they were loaded into trucks and taken to waste disposal sites and a landfill. Amazon spokesperson did not comment on whether the company had changed its infrastructure since they did the investigation back in 2019. But still, 130,000 items is like the goal that Amazon sets. Those items, there's undoubtedly a number of cheap Chinese knockoffs and cheap products that are unusable crap. I mean, we've all ordered these things off Amazon that just are really no good to anyone and should not be used in any home business anywhere. Those are most likely the items that are by and large being destroyed. It's not 130,000 iPads, it's not 130,000 TVs, but do some iPads and some TVs and some COVID-19 face masks, do they make it into the bulk destruction? Yeah, undoubtedly. I would be very curious, and I'm sure Amazon tracks it internally. I don't know if they release these numbers by themselves. I would be very curious as to the true breakdown. And again, all this is just happening in the UK. I'd be very curious kind of worldwide what is happening to a lot of these products, because there's always going to be waste. There's always going to be things that they could do better. You just hope that things that are eligible for reuse or before, not even recycling, because recycling breaks it down, tears it down, and it has to go through the whole system all over again. You would hope that products that they can't outright sell would be donated to people who could actually use it, not just destroyed outright. But it's a massive operation, and you don't become an almost $2 trillion company without having a lot of product. So, okay, our next story, I believe we're up to story number 8. How about this one? This is another good conversation, because NFTs have obviously, they've risen and fallen. The popularity is definitely slipping, but I think enough people know about NFTs that they need to see this other side of NFTs. And one part that I don't think I've ever mentioned here on the show, but I've been hearing more and more about it, is that NFTs are non-fungible tokens. So these little these tokens, these purely digital tokens that say that what you have is the original. Only one person can own this token. And it's Non-fungible, so it's essentially committed to its own blockchain, and you can verify every single owner. Even though there may be infinite copies of memes or videos or pictures or songs, even though there's a million digital copies that are just like your NFT, you are the only one that owns, this original NFT. And if it is sold by someone who claims to be, the originator of that piece of digital, whatever it may be, then you can say, I own the original. Even though you don't, you can at least claim that you do. You own this NFT that says you do. So one part of NFTs that has gotten more and more attention lately is the fact that the original owner isn't necessarily the one who sells the NFT. This has been happening a lot lately. And what people would do is they go out, find a very popular piece of artwork or just a very nice piece of artwork, and I can go out right now, find any piece of art that I like, and I can copy and paste it in and commit it to an NFT, and then I can sell that NFT. I never made art, I never painted anything, I never created anything digitally. I simply created that NFT of that art. And the issue is that the original creator of of whatever it is you're creating the NFT is not necessarily the person who creates the NFT. The issue comes to light with this article here from The Verge, saying that an NFT of Jay-Z's first album has sparked a record label lawsuit. Now, obviously, you would hope that Jay-Z would be the one to sell the NFT, but no. Now you're getting into this situation where the artist is not the one who is creating this NFT. Now, the lawsuit claims that Dash partnered with platform Superfarm to auction NFT of Reasonable Doubt, following a well-trodden path of selling art ownership via NFT. It quotes a purported Superfarm press release calling the sale one of the most significant NFT auctions to date, obviously trying to turn up some interest for this NFT, and since it would transfer the rights to all future revenue generated by the album from Damon Dash to the auction winner. That's an unusual sweeping promise for an NFT, saying that selling the copyright to Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt as an NFT is a groundbreaking landmark both for the crypto space and the broader music industry. Be very interesting to see how that played out. But Rockefeller's lawyer says that this wasn't Dash's product to advertise. Dash owns a minority share of RAF, but the suit says that gives him no right to sell the company asset as an NFT or otherwise. Superfarm canceled the auction at RAF's request, but the label claims that Dash is trying to find a substitute venue. RAF wants Dash to hand over any NFTs he's minted based on Reasonable Doubt plus monetary damages, saying that there's only one Reasonable Doubt and the rights to it are irreplaceable. So there you go. The bottom line is simple. Dash can't sell what he doesn't own. So essentially, he was trying to sell his share and the revenue that he would have gotten from the first album that Jay-Z ever produced. He wanted to sell his minority stake, but that didn't, that's not playing out so well. Now, saying that under the terms of the deal with a potential buyer, the buyer would buy my share of Rockefeller Records and Jay-Z will have exclusive administration rights to the album. He's saying that I'm not running around to different places trying to auction off Reasonable Doubt. I've been working with one platform, and that's Superfarm. The case is unrelated to another recent lawsuit where Jay-Z accused Reasonable Doubt cover photographer of exploiting his likeness. Now, as NFTs have blown up in popularity, related lawsuits have been appearing in court, blah, blah, blah. In any case, NFTs are supposed to confer a sense of airtight ownership and exclusivity, and auctioning off a partial stake to an album doesn't have quite the same ring to it. So he was trying to sell what seemed like complete rights to Jay-Z's first album, but what he was really trying to sell was his minority stake in Jay-Z's album. And then even beyond that, who gives him permission to, like clearly he has the right to own that minority part of it, but then to sell it as an NFT, which I'm sure, has not really been a thing for all that long, for him to sell that minority stake as an NFT, that would be something completely different. And, obviously might break a few contracts, as it would seem. Of course, the music industry in general is very litigious and lawsuit happy. So who knows how that's going to all play out. But yeah, he's giving it a shot. And I don't know if it's going to work out too well. I think that for our last article, and yeah, a lot of stories that we didn't get to, we might cover these later. Okay. I think that for this last one, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. If you're following cryptocurrency, you may have noticed cryptocurrency. Let's see, price of Bitcoin. And we can pull this up here real quick. Let's just say the past 5 days. Let's see if I can pull this up. Let's pull up CoinDesk. That's a pretty reputable place to find the price of cryptocurrency. If you've been following cryptocurrency, well, you have charts that look like this. And for anyone who's simply listening and not watching, 24-hour change, Bitcoin has fallen about just over 8%, 8.72%. In the past week, you're looking at something that used to be worth $40,000 is currently, dropping down to $32,000 is the current price. Obviously, over the last month, you had these massive undulations in the market, and in the past 3 months, you had that peak of $64,000, which has now been falling steadily down to $30,000. Really half of what it formerly was. And you may be wondering, why would it do this? And this is not just Bitcoin. You can see here everything from Ripple to Ethereum to a lot more are suffering losses. Dogecoin is down 26% in the past 24 hours. You have like Ethereum down 13%. Cryptocurrency, by and large, is suffering. And that has to do with this article here. This coming to us from South China Morning Post. And Bitcoin crackdown sends graphics cards prices plummeting in China after Sichuan terminated mining operations. So essentially, twofold. China is really cracking down, and it's nothing new. They're actually continuing what they've been doing. And the byproduct of that, if you've tried to buy a graphics card, it's been super hard. Like the only people who had any kind of stock in graphics cards were like OEMs, your Dells, your HPs, whatever, companies that could order massive amounts of them and have contracts in place and have them delivered to their front door. Individuals really didn't have access to graphics cards. And if they did, they had to buy them scalped for like 100% of what of what the MSRP says they were worth. Well, China has cracked down on cryptocurrency mining. That means that graphics cards are hitting the markets once again, and that these people who were buying them before are not buying them now. And that means that you are seeing prices drop by as much as like 25%, which is, hey, for the individual who wants a graphics card, that's great. That's amazing. They mentioned that the NVIDIA Quadro P1000 model, an entry-level graphics card, was going for about $376. And by the way, the NVIDIA Quadro P1000, like that thing goes for, that thing's like, I would say like $160. It's not that expensive. And for it to be going for $376, that's amazing. And they said that that's down from a peak of about $450 just earlier in May. They mentioned that an Asus RTX 3060, which is a more advanced card, was down to $4,699 after coming down from a peak of about 13,000 won back in May. So that number, 13,000, I think that's what is that? About $1,500, and now it's down to about $700 or $800, much closer to its MSRP, but still very, very inflated. They mentioned that the price plunge comes after the southwestern Sichuan province, which relies heavily on hydropower for electricity and had become China's last Bitcoin mining haven, pulled the plug on mining farms on Saturday night. Previous signals from local regulators suggested that the province hoped to let miners take advantage of the abundant hydropower over the summer. However, none of China's major Bitcoin mining hubs have been spared from Beijing's crackdown. We're about done for the day. That's what the music means. But if you're wondering why is China cracking down on this now, they do not like the competition with the digital yuan versus cryptocurrency in general. So, yep, China is essentially pulling the plug on any mining hubs and, of course, is preventing people from owning cryptocurrency in general. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about all the time we have here for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern for more Computer America. Everyone, we'll catch you next time. We'll be back. Bye, everyone.